efficient manner, how digital has changed the way that we are living today. So various aspects around this we will cover in today's seminar. And in this, I will go through a small PowerPoint presentation also, so that it will be, easier for every one of us to understand the importance and understand how it can be implemented correctly for growing and upcoming new businesses. So I'll start with a presentation.
Maharaj garu.
Yes, sir, please.
Can you all see the screen now?
It's coming, sir. It will take a second or something.
Okay.
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay. So major 4 points that to understand that, why digital, why social media, and how it is working for startups. Why is it so important in today's day? In last more than, I think, 5 to 7 years, everybody might have seen
English వచ్చిన వాళ్ళని.
that sorry.
So you continue, sir. Somebody is unmuted and they are talking.
Okay. So we need to understand that, in last, for example, last 7 to 8 years, every small company to larger companies have taken the leverage of social media and digital media to get into the space and to reach out to the right, correct set of audience. What does social media comprises of? Social media basically comprises of, it is a parallel universe, what we can call. So for example, like today we know each other physically, that way we know each other, or we are also connected to each other on social media platforms as well. So it's a basically parallel world. In terms of the growth of social media, the way it is reaching out to us, it is individualistic in nature. So for example, when we go into the nitty gritty, for example, what are the means of communication? We will take it in the history of social media. So the means of communication, for example, in 1980s, 1950s, 1920s, 1800, how people reached out, or how businesses reached out to the people at large. So the major thing what we saw at that time was initially newspaper and television were the two main, and the outdoor, for example, hoardings. That were 2, 3 main important aspects of reaching out to the citizen, and radio. That's how corporate company, everybody reached out to the targeted audience. But in that, target segmentation was not available. And second thing is, whatever product you sold, there was very no or very little feedback mechanism. So for example, if you all are selling services, if you all are selling product, anything which is going to huge number of people, now how do you listen back to them? That was not there. So generally, large corporations used to launch a email ID or a website wherein people can come back and do some feedback. But that is very minuscule in nature. Then there was a call center setup that many corporates started in early 2000s. But in that also, people have to call, they have to go through IVR, they have to wait for 5, 10, 15 minutes before they speak to the actual citizen. So it takes a lot of time and effort from a citizen to come back to the businesses in terms of communication. So that way, how social media evolved over the period of time, and it is changing businesses now. So for example, there was a first social network site which was launched in way back 1997, which was known as 6 Degrees. It was a very small website, limited set of users. Then came, so for example, MySpace, Orkut. They were the back then the things that were used. Now we have Facebook, Twitter. For students, now it is bharatstudent.com. So there are various new websites, various new avenues, various new platforms coming on to, wherein people are getting to know each other, staying connected with each other, and things are reaching out to them. So for example, if you see, and the most important thing, the digital world changes very quickly. So for example, in December 2007, the number of audience that Orkut had, it drastically changed in almost 1.5 to 2 years, because at that time Orkut was 3 times the size of, for example, Facebook. But in over the period of next 2 years, it changed the entire scope. So we need to understand that whenever we are using any digital platform, that platform will evolve, and new platform will keep evolving. As a business, as a entrepreneur, it is very important to know the platforms and the evolving trends which are happening over the social media platforms. And that's what we said, ki Facebook surpassed Orkut within a span of very quickly a year and a half. That was because of intuitive design, user-friendly interface, and it was easier to for people to use. So similarly, when any corporates or any startup or any new entrepreneur starts its digital journey, it is very important to know the evolving trend and to be part of the trend, because if you are late, then you miss the bus. Likewise, so for example, people who started very early, on Facebook, say in 2011, 12, 13, those were the businesses which got maximum output of the platform, because at that time the Facebook was also new. They were evolving on new policies. They wanted more people, more engagement, and much more activities on the platform. So it gave a lot of leverage at that time. Vis-a-vis now, what we are happening is, because of too much of content on the platform, the people are now bombarded with what we call as data obesity. That once we log on to the platform, we are bombarded with so many companies, so many advertisements, so much of friends and family information and all of that. That consumption has reduced. So, for example, every post when you open Facebook, you don't hardly see it more than around 2 seconds if it does not interest you within that first 2 seconds. So because of that, the leverage of companies has come down. Now we have to put more efforts from the brand side or from the entrepreneur side to create the right mix of content and create the right mix of information that will interest the people or an audience in nature, and then we can interact with them. Current social media scenario, if we see, the largest platform that we have for marketing or for reaching out to our consumer base is majorly Facebook. If anything in video, then it comes second is YouTube. Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp, two personalized tool which we can use for our personalized communication between the brand and the audiences. Then comes Instagram, which is much more youth in nature. So for example, brands who wants to target people, say between age of say 16, 18 to about 24, 25 years, then Instagram would be the right platform. It is again a little bit of a non-serious platform. So wherein if you all have an apparel brand, or if there is something which relates to women in subject to that kind of an audience, you'll find on uh, Instagram. Twitter, again, a very serious platform. If there is anything related to policy, if there is anything related to a segment, a particular thing, then Twitter becomes an important tool to be on the presence of. So if you when you want to interact with intellectuals, when you want to interact with policymakers, Twitter becomes the medium to do it. Again, Twitter has been another important part of Twitter is complaint management system. So for example, it is very easier for people to go and tag your brand to do complaint of if any services or product is not right. So it is very important that we take it very seriously, because all influential people we find on Twitter these days. So it's become a major part of grievance redressal system also. So nowadays, if you see, whether you call up the call center of say any mobile network or not, if you tweet, they will call you back and try and resolve your issue. So that's how important that has become. And LinkedIn being on the professional side, so for example, if you want to tomorrow say put it across your investors, put your company credentials across the influential network in the corporate side, then LinkedIn becomes again in the also in the if you want to hire good employees, if your presence is on good on LinkedIn, more people will be attracted towards you. So it's more of a corporatized version of people out there. So there similarly, we call Facebook, we call it as parallel world, because almost all kind of people that are available on the real physical world, similar people are available on Facebook, specifically in larger cities. How brands are making optimum use of social media? So there are there's a small flowchart that how they are doing. First and foremostly, creating engaging communication that connects with online user. and in form of graphic, videos, information, infographics, and all of that. That then converts into targeted advertisement that ensures that brand reach out to a relevant audience per se. So, for example, if say, for example, if we have a brand, I have an apparel brand which I want to sell, then I will target it to the people who are more likely to buy it, because the platform like Facebook, Google has all that kind of data that what am I able to purchase, what I'm purchasing, what I am looking for. So they know all the bits of it. So it becomes easier for us to target to the people who are looking for what we are selling. Content marketing, which is integrated with the brand message, is something like now when there are third party. If you, for example, if I like your product service, and if I write about it that I am happy receiving it, then it makes I become a brand endorsement also for you. Also, small endorsements also turn out with good results, because word of mouth is more important than anything, any other form of advertising. So that's how content marketing and brand endorsement can be leveraged on the digital space as well. Then comes the part of influencer marketing. So there are a set of influencers of all categories. For example, there is a technology subject, then there are tech people who there are millions of followers with respect to tech background. If they are, for example, we have influencers in the food category, so there are food bloggers. We can target them to write, share, talk about our brand, our things. For example, if there is a small business in a village and he is doing good in his village, then he may find a similar people who is done people who is trying to appreciate what they are doing, and that person is living in say a city. And if he writes, a wider audience get to know about the business and the business model. So that's how this kind of marketing also helps gain a lot of popularity, helps gain a lot of reach to a wider set of audience. Some current popular social media ads, for example, if we see Amul, they have been very on the topic all the time. So, for example, on the topic and on the time. So, whatever.
You can continue, sir. Rest of the audience, may I please request you to be yourself on mute? Devang sir, please continue.
Jyoti, he left. Devang sir left.
I think there's some network issue. He must have dropped off. He'll join again in a second. Let's give it a second.
Yeah.
Hmm. Sandhya, could you call him and check on him?
I am back. I think
Okay.
my laptop conged off. So
Okay. Yes. Please continue, sir.
Yeah. So basically, we were onto that how, so for example, brands like Amul take leverage in today being on the current side of the story. So for example, whatever we see, whatever the topic is, for example, now in nowadays, what the entire nation is talking about, it's talking about 75 years of independence. It's talking about Azadi Ka Amrut Mahotsav. And if a brand integrates with such kind of a campaign, it can get a wider audience, because that is what people are looking forward to. That is what people are talking about. So it helps us leverage the entire set of communication to a larger segment, and our audience also becomes more connected to us, because we are on the thing that what audience is requiring for it. You all must have seen a lot of cross-brand communication. What does cross-brand communication means? This specifically is more happening over Twitter. So, for example, if there is a IPL or if there is any other event, what happens is, for example, Zomato, Swiggy, or some other brands come out with the campaign. The competitor brand or the brand in similar segment tries and attach itself with that particular campaign, so that there is a conversation that can be driven amongst its audience. So for example, say Zomato puts out a campaign, Swiggy responds to the campaign, then there will be Dunzo or somebody else coming and talking about the same point, whether on the right side or the other side, but it drives a lot of communication. And this kind of communication, what happens is this kind of communication uh, actually creates conversions. When people communicate about your brand or when people communicate about your service, good or bad, they're talking about it, and then it slowly starts steadily setting in a lot of things. For example, as I know, BYST is connected more with rural segment as well. So while we were working in the rural segment, there are a lot of good small startups, small businesses which are doing good in the rural areas. But somehow when they have to scale, when they have to grow, they have to reach out to the audience in the urban areas. So how can they do it efficiently? For example, if they go for print, holding, any other media, it is very expensive in nature. So digital becomes the easier, cheaper route to reach out to the right set of segments. Another thing more important is lead generation. For example, how will a small business generate leads? Because today we have a global market which is connected to us. Anything, for example, if I am giving services in say Pune, Hyderabad, Raigada, or some any other smaller district, I can get clients from all across the world. But how do I get it? One way is, yes, everybody today have a website, but website ranking, SEO, there's a whole part and process to it. But if you today run an advertisement over any of this, either Google, Facebook of this model, what happens is, because the advertisement goes out to the right set of people who are looking and requiring for similar services, those people will be able to fill forms and a lead is generated. From that, then there are a host of another softwares wherein you can track those people, reach out to the right set of people, call them, and initiate a conversation which will more likelihood be transforming to lead conversion and lead closures. So for example, in BYST, I think in last couple of years, we tried reaching out to a lot of mentors through Facebook and other mediums, and we got good set of people, good mentors who are looking out for a mentor program, so that they can have a certification and all. They got connected with BYST as well. So that's how the entire game of social media has changed the way brands and startups and entrepreneurs can connect with direct audiences. I'll give you another one good example. So for example, there are a lot of in the edutech sector. Now there are a lot of experts. You may be an expert of something, I may be expert of say digital, somebody may be expert of say accounting, another person can be expert of something else. So all these people have now individually started developing courses. For example, I may today teach on digital, somebody can teach on cyber, somebody can. So everybody is now becoming a small entrepreneur in itself. And what they do, you all might have seen a lot of advertisements or a lot of content coming to you all, in the name of learn Excel today, learn using QuickBooks today, or you learn how to sell your products today. Every that kind of ads are reaching out to us. Now, what particularly this does is people sitting at home being expertise into one or the other subject are now imparting that education to a lot many other people at a very minimal cost. Now that cost, maybe one must have seen that cost is 500 rupees, 700 rupees, 2000 rupees. But we may be thinking, how do they sustain, how do they work? You won't believe the number of people joining such courses across India is so huge that such small tech startup industry are also able to generate crores of revenues within short term, within a couple of months, because the volume is huge. The amount is small, volume is huge, and that's how businesses are becoming viable. So these are a few examples which will help us know how to leverage. For example, we had another one of our client running out of city of Pune. They used to sell only homemade, or for example, smaller processed goods like say sugar, like dal, or small things which are processed in a smaller corporation and not by big brands. So they brought all these people together, Jaggery. So they brought all these people together onto a platform called say Bharat. It's a digital platform wherein you can get similar kind of food, and they started selling in cities like Pune, Thane, and it grew well because social media people got to know about the brand. They were the purest of products that they can impart. People who are looking for organic things in nature, they reached out to them, and they are able to sell it online and do good. Similarly, nobody would have seen, everybody, we love plants. We have plants in our home. Have you ever thought that a nursery can open up a Facebook page or a brand on Facebook and start selling from online? So there are a lot of such examples that, good entrepreneurs have made good businesses completely based on online or digital as a subject. So we need to understand that this is an important aspect of coming days, important aspect of all brand communication, be it sales, be it marketing, be it audience retention, be it consumer behavior feedback. Everything is now taking place on this platform, and the beauty of it is public in nature. So for example, if I like your service, I can praise you in public. If I don't like your service, I can criticize you in public. So which ensures that brand is always on its toes, giving the best of its services to all of its consumers across. This has become the new trend, and this is what it is to be going forward as well. Another aspect is, for example, for startups, it becomes valuation. So for example, if your product is good, if your service is good, if you have presented rightly to your audience and to a larger audience on digital platform, it in terms a lot of time affects your valuation also. If it is good in nature, you have good reviews, good feedback from the people, it gives much more better valuation than by only what it goes by the book, because brand value is more than what the book value is. So that ways, for startups, that is also being helpful in creating better valuations and getting better deals in the market. Every investor today or every individual, when they look for a product, services, they look for a brand. They will go to the website, they will go to the social media platforms to see the what reviews are, what people are talking about, how you have positioned yourself, or even if it is for uh, the mentors and the entrepreneurs working together. It is very important to see that basic hygiene of a brand is there on all social media platforms. So wherever either the consumer or the investor, either of the people who look forward for you, take you as a very serious entity in nature. That's how a small part of the game is the digital, how you have presented yourself in that domain as well. So it helps you enhance at various ways and various levels. And this is the new normal. As much as automation we can do, so there are now tools which help us also get sentiments of our followers and our people. How many people are talking positive about us? How many people are talking negative? If negative, what is the negative? How we can improve over it? So these all things are also available as you grow in the segment. Now for mentors, it is very necessary how they communicate to their peers that this to consider all this while being in a setup, that this is also a small but important part of their entire communication strategy. Another part of using digital apart from social media and all this communication is using CRMs. So for example, even if I am a small entity, we should always start with some or the other small software which are available in the market, which are very cheaper at the initial stage, to hold the customer relationship module and integrate and automate a couple of things, whatever is possible in that. So for example, small businesses start their bookkeeping by putting into a small software in their home, or by keeping up bill books, by keeping up say physical in nature. But if that can be done over the cloud, or we can maintain our client history, client database, it will always help us scale easier and faster. Nowadays we also have subscription models. So initially, if, there are a lot of small businesses. So for example, a business of pure milk supply. How does this work? So generally, what in our old days, what we used to do, there is a milkman who will come to our home. He will deliver milk for 30 days. Then after that, he will raise a bill. We will pay them, and he will go. Now, for example, if I am a new in locality, then I'll have to ask somebody, who is the milkman? How will I get milk? Then I contact him, and there may be multiple competitors. But now take it in a scenario. Now I have to pay every month, by remembering someday I'm not at home. Next day you have to go again to collect the money and all that hassles. Now in model wherein you can put a small technology to it. For example, you can ask your consumers to register on a website or on a portal with name, number, credit card and every other information. And every 30th of the date, how much ever he has received the milk that we can feed in the system, automatically his credit card or his bank account can be charged, so that the cash flow of the system is not hit. You know that on one particular date what kind of money you are going to receive, and that's how you can plan further expansion of the business. Because what happens in physical in nature, that person has to run for a couple of days running after payments and payments and payments, and some people may delay it, some people may just not give, or that may happen as the part of the game. But generally the such online payments help us receive payments on time. And secondly, it also helps for example, if it is taken from a credit card, it helps the consumer also with 40-45 days of additional credit period to their leverage. So it becomes a useful game for us. Also, if we have customer and customer retention data, we can target the same customers with more new products. For example, if I am selling milk, tomorrow I may sell paneer, or I may sell uh, any other new form of milk to them. And once I have data, it is easier for us to market. It is easier for us to send an SMS, email, whatever necessary in our service and product. So preserving this data, using this data in the right and purest form is also very important to keep our people connected with us. And sometimes we can also take a generic feedback from the people, that how they like our service, what we can improve. And then listening to the people, we can introduce new services and new improvements in our process also. So that always also helps consumer to keep in mind that whatever they say, we are listening. Similarly, on social media, we see a lot of Facebook comments and other things coming to us. So that is also another form. If we respond to them, they will know that we are listening of whatever they are putting it across to us. It keeps the consumer more connected and engaged with us in that manner. So there is a lot of scope in this digital world, without having a larger office, without having too many people to work for. This digital world has given us a leverage to reach out to the world with no limits, almost there. So it's a big world out there for the mentors specifically. Get things in order for all the people who are working with you, whom you are mentoring in your network, so that they use the right kind of technology right from day one, rather than realizing after a couple of years that, oh no, we should have preserved this kind of data, we should have had this kind of data, so that it will help us. Then there can be a lot of analysis once the data is that, how the growth is going on, what are the positive aspects of it, what are the negative aspects of it, and how to overcome the challenges. So a lot of things can be done based out of on that data. Use of the technicalities, the tools like CRM tools, like, so for example, if you want to have a complex redressal system, if it is larger in nature, tools like use of social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, with the right amount of processes. This all may take, I think, an hour of yours on a daily basis, but it is important to put things in place. I would recommend one of the tool. I think Zoho One is one of the platform that I recommend to a lot of startups and a lot of people. It is an integrated business modeling system, wherein it will integrate your client, customer, social media, marketing, books, accounting, project management, task management, everything in one platform. So we can do such things also. I think, Jyoti, in our next session also, we will try somebody, if somebody can, from they will be able to better guide and explain to all the mentors that how such softwares, improve businesses actually working on the business.
Sure, sir, we can do that. I'll coordinate internally and get this thing planned for the next webinar.
Yes. So these things which are now available, before a couple of years, they used to be larger softwares which used to be only for large corporations. They used to charge in lakhs. Now it has come as good as few thousand, 2, 3, 4,000 per user, something like that per month. So it is, which is viable in nature. So my request to all the mentors is, take the right kind of tools which is required, take the right kind of setup which is required, and use the right kind of platforms to reach out to your audience. And this will, I'm sure, will ensure that we will have a better strategy, better reach out to people, and most important is the right kind of content based on your brand to reach out. This will help scale easily in the digital world. There is no limits of borders, there is no limit of people, there is no limit of how many people we can reach. And slowly and steadily, once the business grows, there can be more investment drawn to the companies, and from that they can be easily scalable also in nature. So I think that is a brief background of how digitization of businesses will benefit in their growth. If there are any questions, I think I will like to take that.
थैंक यू
Participants, yes, sir.
धन्यवाद देवांग सर। मैं शशि मणि, मैं हिंदी भाषी क्षेत्र से हूँ। तो आप कंफर्टेबल है हिंदी में सर?
शशि मणि जी, बहुत माफी चाहूंगा कि मैंने थोड़ा पूरा हमारा ज्ञान इंग्लिश में दे दिया।
नहीं, नो डाउट। मैं उसमें कोई समझने में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है सर, समझने में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं।
जी जी बताइए शशि जी।
सर मैं ये कह रहा था जैसे कि कोई जैसे छोटे बिजनेस है, जैसे आपने दूध की बात कही कि भाई इसका जो है, और फिर उसका वैल्यूएशन करते हैं, जैसे पनीर बनाते हैं, कुछ और बनाते हैं। तो मेन ये दिक्कत है कि अगर चूंकि लोकल ब्रांड बनाना है, तो उसका हम प्लेटफॉर्म लोकल जगह पे अगर उसका प्रचार प्रसार करना है डिजिटल, उसको जैसे आपने आरकुट से लेकर के बात फेसबुक तक आई थी, तो इनका हम कैसे प्रचार प्रसार करेंगे? क्योंकि इनका कॉस्ट भी शायद बहुत ही, अगर जनरली देखा जाए तो एक दिन का कॉस्ट 10 से 15 हजार रुपए पड़ते हैं, एक जिसे वीडियो चलाया जाए थोड़ा सा सोशल नेटवर्किंग साइट पे। तो इसको मैनेज करने का क्या तरीका है, चूंकि लोकल हमारे लोग देखे, चूंकि मैं सभी लोगों को सर्विस प्रोवाइड नहीं कर सकता। मेरा चूंकि मानिए एक मैं डिस्ट्रिक्ट में रहता हूँ जिसका एरिया अगर 40 किलोमीटर एरिया वो तय करता है, तो मैं उसमें से 15 से 20 किलोमीटर ही एरिया अगर मैं शुरुआत में कवर कर पाऊंगा। तो मैं चाहता हूं कि उन लोगों तक हमारी डिजिटल रूप से हम
आपका बिजनेस क्या है?
उद्देश्य ये है कि कम से कम पैसों में अपने आसपास के लोगों से कैसे रीचेबल हो।
आप लोगों को क्या पहुंचाना चाह रहे हो?
वो जो भी प्रोडक्ट हो, जो भी प्रोडक्ट
हो। इसका तरीका बताता हूँ। अभी होता क्या है, फॉर एग्जांपल कि हम दूध का एग्जांपल लेते तो थोड़ा क्या लोकली आपको कनेक्ट होगा। फॉर एग्जांपल मेरा एक दूध का प्रोसेसिंग यूनिट है, एक तबेला है, एक जगह है जहां से मैं दूध बेचना चाहता हूँ, मेरा एक ब्रांड है, ठीक है। अब मैं ये 20 किलोमीटर में ही बेच रहा हूँ और मेरे को पहले उतने में ही सेट करना है। इसमें दो तरीके से काम होता है। एक तो चलिए आप बोल रहे कि उसको थोड़ा सा महंगा पड़ता है इनिशियली, बट वो महंगा का दूसरा तरीका भी है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल आप जब भी लोगों के घर जाए, तभी उनको धीरे धीरे बताए कि हमारा इस तरीके का, अच्छा आपका जो दूध का थैली होगा, आप दूध किसी चीज में दे रहे होंगे, तो उसके साथ क्या हम छोटा छोटा स्टिकर बना के दे सकते हैं क्या, जिसमें हम लिखे कि हम फेसबुक पे इस आईडी पे अवेलेबल है, या ये हमारा वेबसाइट है। तो ये थोड़ा थोड़ा धीरे धीरे, तो लोग क्या होता है ना, लोग देखते हैं, भले शायद देखने में पहले ही कुछ, अभी आजकल क्यूआर कोड का कॉन्सेप्ट आ गया है कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपको महीने में समझो एक 5% 2% का डिस्काउंट चाहिए, तो ये क्यूआर कोड स्कैन करो और हमको आपका डेटा भेज दो। तो क्यूआर कोड स्कैन करेंगे, छोटा सा फॉर्म खुल जाएगा। अब ये जो फॉर्म खुलने वाला ये जो प्रक्रिया है ना, वो एक्चुअली है बहुत आसान, बहुत छोटी सी है, पर इसको किसी ने लोअर लेवल या वो जो छोटे गांव में लोगों को सिखाया नहीं है। तो धीरे धीरे इसका कुछ एक ट्रेनिंग इम्पार्ट करके ये सिखा दिया, तो क्यूआर कोड बना लिया, वो अपने दूध के थैली पे लगा लिया। तो जब आदमी देखता है ना, उनको भी लगता है कि कुछ तो नया है, ये क्या है, वो ट्राई जरूर करता है। और ट्राई करेगा, उधर फॉर्म खुलेगा, नाम नंबर भर देगा, तो एक वो आपके साथ कनेक्ट हो जाएगा। फिर आप उनको बकायदा एसएमएस भेजिए, आप उनको कोई डेटा भेजिए, व्हाट्सएप करिए, तो आपसे एटलीस्ट सुनता रहेगा हमेशा। कोई आपको कुछ और चाहिए रहेगा, जब आप नया लॉन्च करोगे तो उसको पता रहेगा। दूसरा जो ये एरिया वाला है कि 5 किलोमीटर 10 किलोमीटर में ही हमें करना है, तो फेसबुक वगैरह में वो सेटिंग होता है पीछे कि जिसमें आप
सर आवाज नहीं आ रही है आपकी।
आवाज आ रही है मेरी?
हाँ अब आ रही है सर।
हाँ, तो उसमें बहुत लोग होते हैं जो आप टारगेट कर सकते हो कि मेरे को हमारे एड्रेस के अगल बगल के 5 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर में ही इसको दिखाना है, 10 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर में ही इसको दिखाना है। और फिर उसको आगे बढ़ाए तो उतने ही जितने उस जगह में लोग होंगे, जियो फेंसिंग इसको बोलते हैं, उन्हीं लोगों तक ये पहुंचेगा।
ओके सर। सर ये जो आप जैसे कुछ सॉफ्टवेयर की स्मॉल सॉफ्टवेयर की बात कर रहे थे, जैसे बिल बुक जो आया था, इनका कुछ डिटेल्स
हाँ
में अगर कुछ हमको बताया, जैसे चर्चा भी कर रहे थे
हाँ,
आप,
एक
तो बहुत ही अच्छा
सॉफ्टवेयर
रहेगा।
का नाम है जो मैंने अभी लिखा है, जोहो करके एक सॉफ्टवेयर है। वो एक
हम्म
बार आप ऑनलाइन गूगल करेंगे तो वहाँ एकदम अभी ये सॉफ्टवेयर करता क्या है मैं आपको बता दूं। अब जनरली जो दूध का दुकान चलाता है वो तो फोन नंबर वगैरह लेता नहीं है। बट आपने
हम्म
थोड़ा जो इंटरनेशनल दुकान देखा रहेगा, जिसको हम भले छोटा ही वो ब्रांड बनाए, फॉर एग्जाम्पल आज हम डोमिनोज देख ले, फॉर एग्जाम्पल हम वो पिज्जा का कोई दुकान देख ले। जो बाहर से आया, भले उसने छोटा दुकान खोला, बट आप जिस भी दिन उसके पास जाओगे ना, आपको पहले फोन नंबर लेता है वो। आपका ऑर्डर क्या है तो बोले फोन नंबर बताओ, फिर आप फोन नंबर दोगे 980000, वो डालेगा, फिर आपका ऑर्डर डालेगा। वो इससे क्या करता है, आपके
डेटा
फोन नंबर
कलेक्ट।
से आपका एक आइडेंटिटी कर देता है
जी जी।
कि आप जब भी जो जो परचेस करोगे तो 4 साल बाद यदि उसको पूछोगे तो आपके नंबर पे आपने क्या क्या खरीदा वो सब चीज उसको पता होगी। इससे क्या होगा कि आप अगली बार क्या खरीदने वाले हो, धीरे धीरे उनको वो भी थोड़ा सा आइडिया मिलने लगता है। तो आपको फिर वो उसी प्रकार के ऑर्डर और उसी प्रकार के चीजें दिया जाता है। तो ये जो सॉफ्टवेयर है, इस सॉफ्टवेयर में यदि आपने लोगों का ये डाल दिया कि फॉर एग्जांपल हमारे पास 100 कस्टमर है, तो 100 कस्टमर का नाम नंबर एक बार अपडेट कर दिया, उसके सामने कितना दूध लेते हैं, वो आधा लीटर लेते हैं, 1 लीटर लेते हैं, कोई 2 लीटर लेता है, कोई धीरे धीरे कोई बढ़ा रहा है, कोई कम कर रहा है। तो एक 2 4 6 महीने बाद ना आपको भी पता होगा कि आपको कितने कस्टमर और ऐड करने हैं, आपको कितने दूध वाले आपके कस्टमर जा रहे हैं, वो क्यों जा रहे हैं, उसको थोड़ा सा फीडबैक पूछ लिया। और फिर यदि ऑटोमेटेड अपन बिलिंग डाल दे कि हम आपके पास कोई बिल लेने के लिए पैसा मांगने की एक समस्या होती है, तो पैसा मांगने जाएंगे, कोई बोलेंगे अरे आज नहीं है भैया, कल ले लो, ये कर लो। तो अब यदि ऑटोमेशन में डाल दिया, जैसे हम नेटफ्लिक्स या ये इस पे करते कि आपने एक बार उसमें अपना कार्ड नंबर डाल दिया, फिर वो नेटफ्लिक्स अपने पास थोड़ी ना पैसा मांगने आ रहा है, अमेजोन वाले थोड़ी अपने पास पैसा मांगने आ रहे हैं, ऑटोमेटिक काट लेते हो। फिर वो अपना लुकआउट है कि अपन वो क्रेडिट कार्ड को कैसे भरेंगे। तो इसको जरा ऑटोमेशन में ला दिया। अच्छा, उसमें ऑटोमेटिक एसएमएस भी जा सकते हैं 2 दिन पहले की, 2 दिन बाद आपका दूध का पैसा कटने वाला है, आप अपना अकाउंट में उतना 200 रुपया, 400 रुपया, 1000 रुपया जो भी है रखिएगा। तो रिमाइंडर भी हो जाता है, आपको किसी से मांगना भी नहीं पड़ता, वो पैसा भी ऑटोमेटिकली आता है। और ये निश्चिंत हो जाता है कि 1 तारीख को इतना पैसा आएगा, 5 तारीख को इतना पैसा आएगा, 10 तारीख। तो उसके बेसिस पे आप अपना आगे का प्लानिंग कर सकते हो। जो आपका एफर्ट जो सिर्फ मांगने में जाता है वो कम हो जाता है। तो ऐसे सब इंटीग्रेशन भी हम उसमें कर सकते हैं, ऑटोमेटिकली उनको एक बिल बन के भी जा सकता है। कि कुछ लोगों को कहीं रिडेम्पशन के लिए लगता है कि हम ऑफिस में सबमिट करेंगे, हमको उसका पैसा वापस मिलेगा, तो वो लोग को भी ऑटोमेटिकली बिल पहुंच जाता है और वो अपना काम उससे कर सकते हैं। कल जाके आपने पनीर बनाया दूध में से और नया प्रोडक्ट लाया, तो आप सबको एसएमएस कर दीजिए, आपके पास डेटा है, एक बटन दबाया, सबको चला जाएगा कि कल से पनीर 20 रुपए किलो में अवेलेबल, 60 रुपए, 100 रुपए किलो में अवेलेबल है। तो जिन जिन को चाहिए वो वहीं से ऑर्डर भी दे देंगे आपको एक बटन के क्लिक पे। तो ऐसा करके अपने को धीरे धीरे इसको स्केल करना पड़ेगा।
थैंक यू सर। सर एक ये जो छोटी सी एक ट्रेनिंग मतलब दे देते आप सॉफ्टवेयर यूजेस पे कैसे, चूंकि आप
नहीं, वो
व्हाट्सएप।
सॉफ्टवेयर के अलग से training हम सॉफ्टवेयर वालों से बात करेंगे, उसका एक अलग से वेबिनार और ट्रेनिंग रखवाएंगे। मैंने अभी वो ज्योति जी से वही बात किया है।
क्योंकि व्हाट्सएप बिजनेस भी एक आता है, तो अब इसको कैटलॉग बनाना क्या क्या होता है समझ में नहीं आता है, थोड़ा सा उसको। हाँ जी सर, थैंक
ये
यू।
उसका एक अलग से ट्रेनिंग, प्रॉपर वो ट्रेनिंग रही, तो आज वेबिनार था कि क्या क्या हम लेवरेज कर सकते हैं, उसका एक अलग ट्रेनिंग में रखवाता हूँ।
जी जी जी, थैंक यू सर।
और किसी का प्रश्न?
Anybody else? Any questions? English, Hindi, Marathi. I think Devang sir can answer in all the 3 languages, right?
Yes. English, Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, 4 languages.
Gujarati
Yeah,
as
Mr.
well.
Devang.
Oh, wow, wonderful.
Yeah, Mr. Devang, this is Ravi from Hyderabad.
Hello, Ravi ji.
Hi. See, we are supposed to be mentors in future.
Yes.
So how do you think your domain will help us in mentoring existing or future entrepreneurs?
Absolutely. See, basically, as a mentor, as I told you, that it is very important to give right kind of 2 things, right kind of tools and right kind of processes to the new entrepreneurs. Because entrepreneur, whenever he starts a business, he is not very good with creating processes. He is not very good with handling data. For him, what important is ki who are the customers who will pay me, how will I do my services or products sell and scale the business. But in all this, very important is the part of right tools to how to manage all of that things. and then right tools to market your product and services as well. So the day you interconnect both of these properly, half of the things become automated, and it becomes easier for the new entrepreneurs to be scale up in their business and concentrate on the hardcore business, and not on kya kaun se customer ka what complaint is coming, or whether they paid or not, or the invoice is gone or not. So that all things what all we can automate, we should do. Branding and effective marketing with use of social media, WhatsApp and all, that also needs to be set up. Once it is set up, and once you have a plan, content plan, calendar in hand, so a lot of efforts can be reduced and concentrated on the main business. It is most important to do these two things.
Okay. Thank you, Devang ji.
Thank you.
गुड आफ्टरनून देवांग जी। मैं
Good
उड़ीसा से
afternoon.
बोल रहा हूँ। मैं उड़ीसा से बोल रही हूँ, जयशेष जगतसिंहपुर शारदा।
सर बताइए।
एक्चुअली मेरा एक छोटा सा बिजनेस है जो कंप्यूटर सेल सर्विस का है।
हाँ,
मैं जानना चाहता हूँ कि विदाउट सोशल मीडिया से मैं हेलो,
हाँ आपकी आवाज आ रही है।
जी, मैं विदाउट सोशल मीडिया और फेसबुक, ट्विटर, इसके बिना कैसे बिजनेस को बढ़ा सकते हैं?
हाँ, इसमें देखिए दो चीज, आप जब कंप्यूटर सेल्स और सर्विस करते हैं तो आपके लिए लोग आपको क्या ढूंढ के आते हैं? दो चीज ढूंढ के आते हैं। एक, किसी को नया कंप्यूटर चाहिए रहता है, और
जी
दूसरा
सर।
होता है कि किसी का कंप्यूटर खराब हो गया, कोई पार्ट खराब हो गया, या एएमसी का पार्ट हो जाता है। ठीक
जी
है,
सर। जी,
तो ये दो चीज लोग आपके पास ढूंढने आते हैं। अभी कंप्यूटर में क्या होता है कि आजकल कॉम्पिटिटिव मार्केट में कौन बेटर प्राइसिंग दे रहा है, कौन बेटर कॉन्फ़िगरेशन दे रहा है, ये सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है। तो इसमें
जी सर।
बहुत सारे जो आजकल लेवल पे जो डीलर्स होते हैं वो क्या करते हैं, यूनिक सेट्स बनाते हैं। फॉर एग्जांपल असेंबल करके हम क्या बेटर दे सकते हैं। दूसरा, जो कंपनी ब्रांडेड है तो उसमें हम बेटर प्राइसिंग या बेटर सर्विस कैसे दे सकते हैं। फॉर एग्जांपल जो हमारे से खरीदेंगे उनको 1 साल का सर्विस फ्री दे सकते हैं क्या, हम एएमसी दे सकते हैं क्या। वैसे जनरली कंप्यूटर बाय करने के पहले साल में कोई बहुत ज्यादा दिक्कत आती नहीं है, बट समझो हम कुछ ऐसा एडिशनल चीजें दे। दूसरा, ये जो सोशल मीडिया है, जैसे
जी सर।
आपके 2-4 हजार, पहले तो हम इनिशियल देखें तो 500,000 दोस्त होते हैं आपके फेसबुक पे,
जी
तो
जी
वो
जी सर।
दोस्तों तक पहुंचा है। फिर वो दोस्तों में समझो आपने 2-5 लाख को दिया, तो उनको बोले कि आप आपके बारे में लिखे कि उनको अच्छा सर्विस मिला, अच्छा कंप्यूटर मिला, अच्छा सेल्स मिला, अच्छा कोई कॉन्फ़िगरेशन मिला, तो उनके भी 200-500 लोगों को पता चलेगा आपके बारे में। तो ये
जी
सारी
सर।
चीजें धीरे धीरे जोड़ सकते हैं। दूसरा होता है सर्विस। फॉर एग्जाम्पल किसी का कंप्यूटर खराब हो गया, या कोई नहीं चल रहा है, या कुछ हो गया, तो वो आप तक कैसे पहुंचे। तो इसका थोड़ा सा सोशल मीडिया में अपने अवेयरनेस करना चाहिए। छोटा सा एक लीड जनरेशन कैंपेन भी आप चला सकते हो कि
जी सर।
बेस्ट सर्विस एट योर प्लेस विद इन 2 आवर्स, विद इन 4 आवर्स, या वट एवर, जो हम टैग अच्छा कुछ बना सके, यूनिक, जो बाकी से और बेहतर हो। तो इस तरीके का कुछ कैंपेन बना के चलाए तो
जी
अवेल बेस्ट प्राइजेस टुडे ओनली, तो उसका कुछ मॉड्यूल बना के आप चला सकते हो। और आपके रीजन में जैसे आप 10, 20, 25 किलोमीटर तक कैटर करते हो, तो
जी
वहां
सर।
तक आप चलाओगे तो आपको थोड़ा बहुत लीड जनरेशन भी वहां से आएगा। और फिर एक बंदा रख देना जो उसको जैसी लीड आए उसको फोन कर दिया आपने, और
जी
उसको क्या प्रॉब्लम है, अगर कोई रिमोट कर सकते हो। अभी कुछ चीजें ऐसी होती है कि मेरा सॉफ्टवेयर नहीं चल रहा, अब वहां जाने की आजकल कोई जरूरत नहीं रही है। तो ऐसा कोई रिमोट टूल यूज करके कि वो आप उनका कंप्यूटर एक्सेस कर सकते हो, वहां पे नया सॉफ्टवेयर डाउनलोड करके ठीक से इंस्टॉल कर दे। बहुत सारे लोगों को इंस्टॉलेशन नहीं आता छोटी
जी
छोटी चीजों का।
जी
तो
सर।
ऐसे सर्विसेज आप ऑनलाइन दे सकते हो क्या, तो अपन ने थोड़ा उस तरीके के सोचना पड़ेगा। तो उससे क्या
जी।
होगा, आपका आना जाना पैसा भी बच गया, खर्चा भी बच गया, टाइम भी बच गया, और आपके
मतलब
ऑफिस
चला
से
के
भी
काम भी हो जाएगा। जी सर।
गया। तो ऐसा सब आप जब प्रमोट करेंगे तो लोगों को भी थोड़ा अच्छा लगेगा कि ये तो तुरंत तुरंत होने वाला कहानी है।
जी जी
तो वैसा भी अपन चीजें कर सकते हैं।
जी सर। जी सर, थैंक यू सर।
और इस पे मेजरली आपको फेसबुक पे लोग ज्यादा मिलेंगे।
जी सर, मेजर मेजर फेसबुक में सर।
हाँ,
थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू। I think that's it for today, Jyoti. Or is there anybody else?
Anyone else? Do we have any more questions? I think that's about it, sir. If no one has any questions, we can close the call. Sandhya, are you here?
Yes, Jyoti,
ज्योति
I'm
मैम,
here.
ज्योति मैम,
Yeah.
हाँ जी, बताइए बोलिए।
थैंक यू। इसमें एक मैं जूम कॉल में ये था कि जो लोग जुड़े हैं हमसे वो लोग दिखाई नहीं दे रहे थे कि कौन कौन से लोग जुड़े हैं।
हाँ,
बहुत
क्योंकि ये
सारी अच्छी
वेबिनार है ना, ये वेबिनार है ना, तो इसमें क्या होता है, पैनलिस्ट जो होते हैं सिर्फ वही लोग कैमरा पे आ सकते हैं, बाकी लोग नहीं आ पाते हैं। आपको जिनसे पर्सनली आप कनेक्ट करना चाहेंगे तो हमारी टीम आपको रीच आउट करेगी एंड वी विल हेल्प यू. Santhya, could you please ensure that this gentleman gets whatever assistance he's requiring?
Sure, Jyoti, sure.
So now I think if no more, do we have any more questions, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, there's one more question, please. Mr. Kulkarni. Devang sir,
Yeah.
we have one more question,
Myself,
please.
Dr. Vinod Kulkarni. I am from Pune. I am faculty in Management College. I have a DD cell, Entrepreneurship Development Cell, also Incubation Cell. So we require the more information regarding how to promote the student regarding the business and entrepreneurship. So any sessions for that?
Sir, fantastic thing you are doing. In this, there are two ways to do it. First, we need to reach out to students. For example, students who are in first year. Every student has to complete some project. If I am right, that he has to, before graduating, he has to complete one project in the last year, right?
Yeah.
So if we can, we had initially raised a course which was known as ABCD. Anybody can do entrepreneurship. We can do such modules in your college also. But what happens is we need to make student understand that in first, second year there is not much load of studies. So if we can give at least 1 hour per day or half hour per day in building some project or building a small company or some services which he can grow over the period of time while investing half an hour or 1 hour of day right from the first year, what will happen is till the third year he will have a lot of prototyping ready, he will have small business with him ready, so he will not look for job, but basically he will be able to scale the business once he passes out the third year. So that is where we need to encourage students on the first year that you do something, you create a startup, you do an idea, you do a brainstorming session. Later on in college, for example, someday if you invite me, I'll come down and just talk to students on basically what startup is, how startups are created, why it is important to create a startup early in your life. And then we can encourage and motivate students toward creating more and more startup within the college incubation center itself.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Because then we can tie up.
Yeah, we have a network with around in Pune city we have 25 colleges. In Pune Gramin we have 45 colleges. In Ahmednagar we have 55 colleges. This is my network.
Great. So what we can do is once we start this, later on we can do a Pune and Ahmednagar level startup festivals itself. So for whatever students who have creating some project, they can showcase their project to the outer world also, in which government and other people and even investors can participate, and they can get a larger platform for the same.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir,
Any more questions do we have?
one more question. Sir.
Okay.
Sir,
Please.
that I wanted to, if we want to understand more about this, do we have any advanced courses or trainings so that we can get into? Because I am a state level officer and I need to direct SHGs, FPOs and SMEs. So to inculcate digitalization into them, it is a big responsibility in me, so that if they are into digitalization, it will be very easy for them to get into the market. So is there any course you will suggest for me so that I'll get a big picture? Because 1 hour and 2 hours will not be sufficient for me to understand into the depth and handhold practices.
Correct. So what I will do is I will send out a few option of these courses to BYST, and they will reach out to you with the right kind of courses. And for digitalization of the data, we will ask a couple of portals like either Zoho or some CRM portals, which can give a proper training and do an implementation for SHGs and FPOs, so that they don't have to do the major work, which can be readily given to them. All they have to do is just enter data and start leveraging the product.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Any other question? Anybody else? I think we are now at the point where we can close. Thank you so much, Devang sir, for sparing you some time and to joining us for this webinar. Your words were indeed welcome to us, and we've noted down the points. We'll consider the webinars that you've suggested, and I'll make sure the team gets the needful done. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us your time.
Thank you, VYST. Thank you, Sandhya.
Pleased to help, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so
Santhya,
much.
I think we can
Thank you,
close
sir.
now.
It was real